Hi there. It's wet hair time again. I don't use a hair dryer, so you know, the natural way. Um, it's interesting. I'm finding myself more hesitant to push record on the webcam of late, and I'm not sure why. It's almost, could I be hiding something from myself that there's a part of me that doesn't want to find out? Well, no way to find out but to just do it, to plow ahead. Uh, Bottom line is everything's beautiful. It's all the way it's meant to be. And, we'll blink twice and we'll be on the other side. So let's enjoy this, whatever it is. Um, I've been feeling a bit more like a fool of late. Not that I'm as brilliant as him, nowhere near, but it reminds me of, gosh, it wasn't St. Francis, Thomas Aquinas, doctor of the church, who wrote Summa Theologica and was one of the greatest theologians and logicians and thinkers, not only of his time, but of our time. Of all time. And how, after having written so much and being such an authority and so revered and looked up to and taught and all the rest of it, um, we don't know what happened because he didn't tell us. I'm going to guess and say he had an awakening, an experience of some sort, where much more was revealed to him. Maybe the all. Is that possible? I don't know. And he never spoke another word. It's not that he just quit writing. He quit speaking. He didn't answer questions. He just stopped. Um, I should have looked it up. He may well have said something to the effect that everything he wrote was just foolishness, and now he realizes it. I seem to remember something along those lines, and that makes good sense, good heart sense to me. We get all involved in these things, and we want to know the answers, and it seems so darned important to us, and there's a certain joy in following that through, and I think we're meant to. Um, you know, I have plenty of schooling, and it was just for the joy of it more than anything else. But when we're deep at our central core, there's something burning that I think may be intensifying in these days, or maybe it's just now that we're tuning into it, or something. I don't know. But once we connect with that, there's no going back. Everything else loses its value, its importance, not its value. Everything has a certain inherent value. It's just that our choices after that are forever more different. And this is when folks around us begin to understand us less and less. Let's face it, the whole society is trained to be in their head, at least Western society. I cannot speak for the East. And maybe that's why we've had so many wise and beautiful teachers rise up from the East, is they don't have this mental addiction. It really is. It's an addiction to left brain, not just to the mind. Um, if you haven't seen Jill Bolte Taylor in her speech that she gave as a TED Talk, I don't even think it's 15 minutes. No, it's less than 20. And she talks about having a stroke and quite losing the use of her left brain. So all she had left was the right brain. And being a brain neuroscientist type, she paid very close attention to everything. and was able to share it with us. She spent quite a good bit of time there in the right brain, and it's pretty close to heaven. She called it nirvana. It's where our sense of oneness is located, and we lose the sense of form and of boundaries. She couldn't even distinguish where her arm quit and the wall began. You know, it just all merged and blended in the sight given by the right brain. So we do have this magnificent apparatus that we walk around with every day. But, you know, we're a nation and maybe a world of right-handed people, which means we're left-brained because the right side of the body is controlled by the left brain and vice versa. It used to be thought in the last centuries that to be left-handed was to be of the devil. You know, they called it the left-handed path. And that's one of the ways that our creativity was crushed, crunched, and stomped upon. You know, they wanted to put it out as much as they could. Intuition probably doesn't reside there. I find it in heart. But, you know, at a certain point, the heart and the head join up. And it's not any more of this either-or thing, because the either-or thing is very 3D, isn't it? It's polarized. It's duality. And that's what it's not like we're in 3D and we're going to leave it behind and we're going to go to 4D and there won't be any of us left in 3D. I find that linear. And it seems more to me like we're expanding beyond. And we contain all of these things. And in a way, it's where's our central focus? Now, why it is we have a central focus, for instance, that's blocked here in 3D right now, I can't say. I don't know what that's all about. The one thing, and I'll put links in the transcript, by the way, to the names I mentioned. The one thing that Chris Thomas in Great Britain there, who speaks of the Velon, has right in my intuition, in my discernment, is the getting of the whole soul into the body. We're operating on just a portion of the fullness of our being. And we've not only been dumbed down, I mean, education is a rape of the mind the way it is today. It's not nearly what it's going to be in the golden age up ahead. It will be celestial compared to what we have now. But there was a method and a meanness and a madness to it as well to keep us down in lower frequency and vibration so that we wouldn't rise up. These are higher frequencies that we're entering now. I was just listening to a presentation. It was over 3 hours that Alex Collier gave at the ranch, introduced by J.Z. Knight. And it was the biggest crowd he ever spoke to. It's one of his finest hours as far as his being in joy and having a receptive and a willing and an understanding audience. He's used to the skepticism and, you know, having to push back against that kind of energy much more than he is such a group. And they gave him a glorious and a beautiful and a warm and a loving reception. And I may put a clip of that up at some point. I don't want to. Anyway, he spoke of we're seeing rods and things. Now, this is back in the mid-90s. And Alex said that the Andromedans told him that we would begin seeing rods slicing through the air and such things, seeing ghosts more often and just different things. Our digital cameras, video and still, are capturing things now that didn't used to be, not so much anyway. Um, and I have experience of this myself. I mean, it's amazing. And what the Andromedans had to say is that we are the densities, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on. It's as if they're all merging in a way. We're being pulled up, and it's not just 3D. It may well be, if I understood him right, that 4D is going to 5D, 5 to 6, and so on. I don't know. I don't know. But the Pleiadians, through Marciniak, have also spoken about how we'll begin to see things that aren't there, supposedly, to hear things that aren't there. And so don't wait for 2012. We're in the midst of this energy now, and we have been for some time. So my call is for everybody to get into heart and open up. Can you make room for the belief that anything is possible? Literally anything. What we have here isn't real. It looks very real, and if you have a car wreck, your body will be very really dead, maybe or maybe not. There are tales of people that made a call to heaven as they saw a wreck coming and had the experience of actually them in their car driving through the other car, okay, and more than one. This is energy, and it takes on an appearance like this largely because of our belief in it. And as we are both being raised up in frequency, that's just happening globally throughout the solar system, maybe the galaxy, I don't know. Maybe along the galactic plane, this is the energy that's always there. I don't know. Lost my train of thought. As we're being pulled up by the rising frequencies, our own frequencies are rising because our inner self is working in consonance with what's going on. You have a part of yourself, just as I do, that knows exactly what's going on and what's ahead, and that knows what's going on the inner planes and dimensions where these eyes and ears don't perceive. We have a higher self that's fully integrated in the higher planes right here, right now, right this minute, and has what you might almost call, what you could call a life of its own. It's not dependent on this 3D manifestation. And we exist like a ladder. I don't know, maybe all the way up. It's pretty darned amazing. There's one piece I do want to share. I opened by talking about how we have this mental curiosity about things, and who am I, where did I come from, and that kind of thing are some pretty basic questions. And the Andromedans have explained to Alex where our universe came from. They said that at one time we were all elsewhere in a very different existence, a different universe, and that universe was rising and rising and rising in consciousness and frequency, and it was entering into perfection along the lines of what's going on here. And this is a very long time ago. As it was rising, there were those that weren't going to go along with it. And you get the sense that some, most, or all of them just weren't ready, to leave the lower dimensions. There may well also have been those that chose not to take that ride up into a more complete and total oneness with Source, and chose to stay behind the Bodhisattva type. I don't know. One way or another, there were those that didn't go with it, and that was us. And he speaks about a new energy emanating from the black holes that started they have a date. I think it's equinox, March 23rd of 94. All of a sudden it just started, and not just from one black hole, but from all of them, a brand new frequency. never met, measured, or known before. There it was. And so I'll put a clip in here where he talks about how there's a new 12th density or dimension that's being discovered by ETs, by beings of light anyway, who report on down, you know, the ones that are on 9, 10, and 11 report to those that are on 7, 8, 9, and it goes on down until the word gets to us that there are these new beings unlike anything, anywhere, ever before, that are on 12D that can actually look down and see into and through all of the densities at once. And they may well have something to do. Oh, and this new density doesn't have any kind of polarity. There's still a polarity on 4D and 5D and so on. It's just that instead of polarizing like the tendency is in mind and in 3D, you take up a position on something and you defend that and you consider it right and something else wrong. As we're moving toward 5D, that doesn't go away. We just contain it and we don't polarize into it, and we tend to take up a balance point in the middle. And so we can see the perspectives on either side and appreciate them. And there's no need for fighting and warring and arguing. Instead, you know, we discuss, share, and celebrate. It's a time to celebrate our differences. I mean, what is all of this? On the one hand, we have the total oneness, and that's very real. And I know a lot of us have had experience of it, and it's unexplainable. It just is. On the other hand, we have this ultimate diversity where things seem to be individual to the extreme. And we've been fighting that to a great extent, which is what we do when we take up a position on something and point to our brother and say, I'm right and you're wrong. And as we rise up, we contain that. And we don't say, I'm right and you're wrong. You know, we go by the way our heart guides and leads us. And the thing is, why would there be billions and billions of us if we were all meant to be the same, to believe the same, to think the same? The little joke, what if all the birds in the forest only sang the top 10 tunes? What a travesty. What a mockery of diversity. And so we've got very small ideas around diversity, but there's an ultimate diversity where each one is meant to sing their own song. I mean, look at the symphonies of Beethoven, 1 through 9. Look at the variation in them. It's tremendous. And they're all whole and they're all complete and they're all ultimately beautiful. And they will take you to different places and spaces. And I think each one of us is a musical composition like that. And we're not meant to be the same. We are meant to see things differently. And yet we're also meant to participate and share in the oneness and be able to appreciate the way we can see through our brother's eyes and see the beauty of that perspective on life. And so we all grow and expand as we interact and merge and share, and yet we retain our individuality. Okay, so there's a certain kind of a polarity to this, a duality that doesn't defeat us. It gets more and more contained, less and less intense as we rise, but on this new density, it's just one. It was like I was talking about between emotions and feelings. With the human feelings, you have the poles, the happiness and the sadness, you know. And with the more divine emotions, or the heart feelings, if you will, there's no opposite. There's a divinity acting there. So anyway, I'll quit chattering because this is going to be rather long once I put the Collier clip into it. Love, light, and blessings to you. Good day.
Okay, a couple things that I was asked to go over again was the implosion of third density and what that really entails. And I know I kind of skimmed over it. So what I'm going to do is to share with you what I have been told. Now, some of you may understand the physics of this better than I do. I'm just basically the messenger, one of the messengers. Okay, according to the Andromedans, 21 trillion years ago, as we are in linear time, apparently all of us as essences, as isness, as sparks of spirit, were someplace else in a completely different reality. And what they say happened was that the Big Bang Theory is basically correct in its simplicity, but the physical part that we know of was the last of the creations or realms created in what we call our universe. Okay, now when I'm referring to universe, I want you to know that I am talking about all of the 11 creational densities, or planes. That'll make it simpler for you. What they say happened was that all the black holes were created because wherever we were, that space, that universe, began to evolve. And as it evolved, those of us who weren't ready to evolve literally gained weight in mass. Okay? And in gaining weight, we started to fill black holes. And at some point, when this other universe evolved to a certain frequency, those of us that didn't literally broke out of those black holes and created this space which we call our universe. And what we're witnessing 21 trillion years later is the same thing happening. And what happens here is, what's happening now in our universe is that according to Morine and Phaseus, on March 23rd of 1994, a color and sound frequency started emanating out of all of the black holes. And the color and sound literally, in its unified effect, is attaching to all of the densities, or planes. What's happening is that it's raising all the frequencies. Everything is literally being pulled up from the bootstraps. It is literally creating a holograph over these 11 creational planes. They're calling this the 12th. And the reason they are is that it is unified, but yet it's separate. And that they have been told by other races that there are beings of consciousness never seen the likes of before inside this 12th. And that they literally have the ability to look straight down through all the dimensional levels. What's happening is that third density is beginning to implode because as the frequency starts to rise of third density matter, those that choose to evolve, there are a greater number who are in fear and will not be making the same transition we will be. Now, because we're spirit, the essence of us is spirit, nothing ever dies. Literally nothing. So what is happening is that there are black holes being created as we speak. There are dips, literal dips in physicality being created where people will be gathering, souls will be gathering as they make their transition into these spaces so that they can continue to evolve by literally creating another space. Unfortunately, one of these areas is between us and the dog star Sirius, which is why there's so much crap coming our way. Okay, you got a front row seat. And all I can tell you is, bless them as they make their transition. Because we've been there before, all of us. Going back to the genetics that I shared with you about us having the 22 different races and the primate race, and because of our apparent essences, where we've been on a spiritual level and then decided to come back and start this thing all over again, what's happening is we can apparently, our DNA can vibrate because of our ability to hold the extremes of emotion inside of us. Our DNA can vibrate at such a frequency, a high frequency. We can hold so much energy that we can literally take our experiences from here and part of our physicality into the fifth plane, fifth density. Now, when this happens, we radically will change what they know. Okay, this is why when people say, well, geez, Alex, why don't they just intervene? That there's more to that than you think, because when they come down here and they commingle with us, it not only changes our reality, it changes their reality. And a little piece of us goes back with them. Now, if most of you, let's just for example, we're from Andromeda. Okay? You all evolve, you all lift up, you all move into fifth density, and then you decide, I'm going home. And you're off. And we all march into Andromeda together. Their civilization, their reality will never be the same. And this is why many of the races, particularly the benevolents, are coming back, because they want a heads up. They want to know what to expect. They want to know who we are. Do you follow what I'm trying to say? Okay, now the negatives, they've got everything really nice where they live. They got everything under control, and they have their caste systems. All right? They don't want us walking in there. Let's say some of you are from Orion. They don't want you going in there and wreaking havoc. Start teaching them about free will, about freedom. They don't want that. Okay, just because they're at another level doesn't mean they're that all evolved.